I was vacuuming and got so caught up in vacuuming.
That
That's what happened.
happens, Yeah.
Yeah.
No worries.
Um, if you look closely, you can see maybe hint of cat head right there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Orange ears, I see.
hmm
Hmm.
And then somewhere also in my house, there's a three-legged dog. So we might get a
Nice.
peek at him.
Yeah.
That's
Because
fun. I was just telling Olivia, my dog recently went and got a dental cleaning, and um, so he is not three-legged, but one of his legs has a little shaved patch on it that they had to do it the
Aw,
anesthesia to put him under. So he looks a little funny.
that's so sweet. But his breath smells all nice and fresh.
Yep, his teeth are beautiful, so that's a big plus.
Yay for dentist!
I was telling Kelly that we're called Women in STEM, semi-ironically. I didn't get to the point where we change what the letters in STEM stand for so that they match the actual topic. So, so we can do that now. We can brainstorm all together if you'd like.
So
That's true,
do
we
you
do that.
choose like a word for each of the letters for each episode?
Hmm.
Nice.
I'm going through my notebook right now to see if I have any notes from the last time we did this.
Hmm.
But I don't,
Oh yeah,
unfortunately.
that's okay. Yeah, longtime listeners will know that we tried to record a Princess Bride episode before, and then my computer was stolen and we lost the audio file. So
Oh
we're doing it
no.
again. I remember we did one that was like specifically about Inigo Montoya, and it was called oh, I used to remember it because I was in the middle of editing it when my laptop was stolen. Um, either satisfying or satisfactory termination of an evil man, because we were talking about when he kills Count Rugen.
That's so true.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that
perfect.
was a really good acronym of ours.
Amazing.
So, but if we're talking about anything other than Inigo Montoya versus Tyrone Rugen, then we could pick a different
Yeah,
acronym.
kind of branch out a little more.
Yeah. Shrieking eels. That's one.
That's two letters. Although we could
Hmm.
use it for one.
We could use them back to back because it wouldn't particularly make sense for it to be shrieking, something that starts with a T, then eels.
Eels.
Um, I was thinking, I rewatched it again last night. Not that I need to, because I do still, I checked, have the whole thing memorized. Beat for beat, perfect pitch.
It's one of those movies that I think should just be automatically downloaded in people's heads, like solitaire on computers.
Mm.
Hmm.
We should just
Yeah, you
You
all
should
just
just
come
pull
with
it
come
them
up
with it.
anytime you
pre-installed.
need to.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
funny because I was rereading the book last night. Not because the book is necessarily super relevant with the movie. I mean, it's pretty so there's some things that are quite similar, obviously, but it was in the middle of the night while I was feeding my baby, so it's all kind of a blur.
That makes sense.
In the book though, it's not eels, it's sharks, which
Are they
Oh,
still shrieking?
no, they're just sharks.
uh,
I don't know why they
I
changed
see
it to
that.
shrieking eels. I mean, that is
It's better. It's objectively
objectively
cooler.
better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Shrieking Eels is cooler. And it's more like, like high adventure fantasy thing for it not to be
Yeah,
sharks, but
sharks.
shrieking eels. Because that just
That
sounds so like something that only exists in this region of the world,
hmm
which is super
Um,
fun. I like their locations and animals. Like in the first 20 minutes, you got the shrieking eels, you got the cliffs of
Cliffs of
insanity.
Insanity.
Like,
Yeah.
right off the bat, we know like what kind of story this is.
hmm
The best one.
Yeah, exactly.
That could potentially be a letter, either the best and that's
The
it,
best
or just
movie.
the best movie. Yeah, and M.
Okay, yeah. M for movie parentheses the best.
We're really good about not using M for movie very often. So
That's true.
I think we've earned it. I think if any movie we talk about deserves to be called movie, it's this
Movie.
one.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. Because it's
Kelly, were you
like
talking about a real
the movie.
baby or like an animal?
No, I actually have a 1 month old baby.
1 month? Oh
Yep,
my gosh. Boy or girl?
it's a girl.
Oh my goodness. What's her name?
Her name is Ella,
Ella
and
Enchanted.
yeah,
Or,
that
other
definitely.
Ellas. Probably not just
Yeah.
that.
No, that was the
I
main
mean,
one
there's
though.
that. It was.
Oh, that's so lovely.
Thanks. Yep,
Well, I
she
appreciate you taking
actually
the time to do this.
she sleeps pretty well, actually. She mostly doesn't wake up too often in the night, which is nice.
That's
But
ideal,
yeah,
yeah.
it's nice to just like talk to adults and feel like a person. So that's a plus.
Yeah.
Yet another win for women in STEM.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, so
fun.
that's when you were joining. I don't know if you heard, but when I said both are welcome anytime, I was talking about husband and baby. And here's
Yes.
three-legged dog.
Oh, and not dog. Okay, interesting. Yeah, here's my dog.
Oh yeah, I guess my dog is around. I don't know where he went.
Hey, Luke,
Oh,
say
cute.
hi. He's
What's
Hi,
your dog's
Luke.
name? Luke?
Luke.
Whitney, is
He's the
that
most
after Cool Hand Luke, or is it just coincidence?
Yeah, I was wondering that too.
probably Luke Skywalker, if
Okay.
I'm
Who
being
is
real.
missing a limb at one point.
Yeah, so that's fitting. Cool Hand Luke, he never loses his hands.
Oh, that might be
So
our
that does
fault.
make,
We
yeah.
named him Luke before he lost his leg. Oh no,
Oh,
Mm, yeah,
we made that
that might be
happen.
your
Okay,
fault.
my bad.
But it's the same. I named my cat Hero and then he lost his leg, so it's like we should just really avoid any kind of amputee sounding names if we don't want it to happen.
Yeah, definitely true.
That
Like
was
how
our
in Percy
bad.
Jackson, his mom named him after the one Greek hero who had a happy ending, and he did in fact have a happy ending. It's like, yeah, she knew what she was
She thought
manifested.
doing.
ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I think we still need an E.
I just wrote Ella for my E, ironically, when I told you that was my baby's name, and I just realized that
Aww.
that was not something that needed to go with that. But
Yeah.
yeah, that you can't see it, but I was just writing it to brainstorm and I wrote Ella when I said it. But like I said,
Yay.
that doesn't have anything to do with the Princess Bride. So
Yeah. Yeah, she wasn't old enough
um
to be in the movie.
it occurred to me there's the machine, right? Isn't that what it's
Mhm.
called? That sucks
Yeah,
his life
the
away?
machine.
The
Yeah,
machine. That is true.
That does
yeah.
start with M. Although we didn't
It could
need a
start with
different
T for
M.
the,
What? Stop.
but it also starts with M for machine, comma, the. So either way, we're good.
That's that's pretty funny. I like that.
Yeah, the machine. Okay, so E should probably not be for Ella because she just isn't in the book or movie.
Mm-mm.
It could be
Casey
I haven't
for
read it
Elliott.
yet.
Elwes.
Oh,
Elves.
Elwes. That's right, not
Hmm.
Elliot. That does start with E, doesn't it?
Yeah,
It does, yeah.
yeah.
I would sign off on Cary Elwes if and only if you put a heart in parentheses next to it.
Okay. I'm happy to do
Yay!
so.
Fantastic. I was worried I'd have to fight for that one.
Yeah, it's okay.
And there
It's like
should
the other, we were
definitely be a
talking
heart
about
there.
the Lego Batman movie, and we were like, oh, Will Arnett and Michael Cera, America's Sweethearts. And I thought about it, but I didn't say it. But they are both Canadians in the title. But America's Canadian Sweethearts, because that was the only way. Just to be clear, we know, they're
That's
America's
really
Sweethearts.
We're
I think
funny
they're
aware.
like adopted. Yeah, I'll do a heart. Okay. So is that all the letters,
fantastic.
or did we move
Did we
any of the
do
letters?
we're doing machine comma the, so that's M,
And
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 Cary
shrieking
Elwes,
and
Shrieking
shrieking
Eels.
eels.
Elwes for E, Shrieking Eels for S. So T could be, I mean, there's all
The
sorts of
The
Cliffs of
T.
Insanity!
The Cliffs of Insanity. Easy. Or To the Pain.
To
Or,
the
I mean,
paint,
there's
to the paint,
plenty. There's a lot.
to the paint.
oh,
I
there's
like
Okay.
that
also
one.
Miracle Max. That also starts with
Yeah,
M.
there's like
And
a
that's a
bounty of
double. I
letters.
didn't even think of that.
This is
Yeah.
really
Whitney,
hard.
we're gonna have to just do a second episode so we can just use more of the letters. I think that's what it boils down to here.
Darn.
Oh, twist my arm. I have to talk about this. We'll be
We did,
okay.
I mean, probably, I want to say at least 4 episodes about this the first time around. So,
I think so. Well, our initial plan was to do at least 4 episodes because we were gonna have a like character highlight.
Mm.
the world is our oyster. Nope. You know
Totally.
what it is. You were saying that.
Yeah. It's like you say or oy and I say oysters, so it's fine. It's just like that song. Cool. Well, welcome to Women in STEM.
Mhm.
Happy to have you
Welcome.
all here.
Thanks.
I'm Whitney.
Hi, Whitney. Yeah, that's Whitney, and that's Kelly. And I'm this same as always, Olivia.
Very happy to be here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Um, Getting to talk about the movie of all
Hmm.
time
And the book too,
and the
which is
book. Yeah,
different but still good.
I have never read the book, but you have to be eternally grateful for it because it got us the movie.
Hmm.
Even if it sucked, if The Princess Bride came out of it, then
It
we would
still
all
would be
owe it
worth it.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also
Yeah.
the book is still amazing. I've heard from many people that it's very good.
Yeah. I personally think that the book is good, but this is one of the rare cases where the movie is just objectively better than the book.
I've heard that. Yeah. That one and Stardust are the two that people say a lot that the movies are better.
Mm.
Mm.
And that,
I could
I
see
mean, I
that.
think because the book doesn't have Cary Elwes in it, and Stardust, the book, doesn't have Charlie Cox in it, or Robert De
Yeah.
Niro, or Michelle Pfeiffer. Oh my gosh, that's a really good
That's a
movie.
stacked
That's
movie.
a really good movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good stuff. I think you could think of it even as like the book is like the you think it's the final draft because it's what was published, but then actually it turns out it was still a draft for what would ultimately be even better, which is movie. For example,
Hmm.
changing sharks to shrieking eels, excellent choice. That's so
Very
much
good.
better.
Very good. And
Hmm.
I've heard that the author was on set for like a large portion of filming. So he signed off on all of those. They weren't just
Hmm.
ripping it up and
Yeah.
making it their own
Yeah,
thing.
I think he did the screenplay and he had written screenplays before. And
Amazing.
so I think that's
Amazing.
one of those things that makes it so good of a transition from a book into a movie is because just like the way that he writes dialogue and everything, it just lends itself to movies. And so that was
Yeah.
really what it was meant to be all along,
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
think.
Yeah, what a lovely way to say that. The book was just the journey to get to the movie. It's what it was meant to be all along. That's
Yeah,
sweet.
it's true. Yeah, he's listed as um the writer of the movie and then also original writer, just to like let everybody know that he wrote the book and the movie, which is great. And I think what a great set experience, like to be with all this is a pretty stacked cast as well.
Hmm.
And a
Andre the
great
Giant is in this movie.
Andre the Giant is in this movie. He's like one of the main guys. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's a good movie. I think is
Again,
sorry, go for it.
no, I was just gonna say again, Cary Elwes is in this movie. And also,
Hmm.
and I'm blanking on her name right now, to my eternal shame.
Robin
Robin.
Wright.
Robin Wright.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And I am I remembering correctly that it was her first film?
you are.
That's
And it was.
so sick. I feel like
Hmm.
after you wouldn't really have to do any movie ever again. Like you've made it and
Yeah. And I think she hasn't really.
she
She
hasn't
did
done a
she was in
ton.
Wonder Woman, the first one, but I think she died in that one. So again, it's like it was more of a
Yeah.
cameo than anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's like, I'll show up. Anything can benefit from my presence, but like I don't have to,
Yeah.
you know.
Like you're welcome, but I was in The
Uh-huh.
Princess Bride as my first ever film, so just so we're clear.
And
She was
then
in
Billy
Forrest Gump.
Crystal, right?
Billy
Billy Crystal.
Crystal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Is he ever?
And then Rob Reiner, like right after this movie, went on to make When Harry Met Sally with Billy Crystal. So
Mhm, mhm.
that's
Lots of really
again,
good
even if the
decisions.
book was really bad, it would have led to The Princess Bride and then also led to When Harry Met Sally because they worked together on that set. So life is beautiful.
It's that
Hmm.
that domino meme, except for once, it's not terrible things happening at the end. It's
Right.
Billy Chris. It's when Harry met Sally. How do you want to proceed? I guess. Do we want to talk about plot, characters? I, like I said, I was looking through my notes to see if I had anything written down from last time, and I don't, so I don't remember how we did it before.
It's
Well,
probably
I'm open to
just
new
Cary Elwes
suggestions.
with a bunch of hearts around it.
I feel like what really makes the movie is the characters, right? Like the characterization of all these super unique, amazing people. So I don't know, maybe that's what I would choose, but
I like
the
it. Let's
plot
do
is
it.
also wonderful. It just is all around great.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
something Olivia and I have talked about a lot, is both of us tend to prefer like character-driven stories over plot-driven stories. And that's this one. It's all about the characters. It's all about Buttercup mourning Wesley. It's all about Inigo avenging his father. And then Prince Humperdinck and Count Rugen being evil dicks.
Mhm.
Everyone has a lovely journey.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that it's one where the plot works this way because of the characters. Like it isn't one that you could put anybody into the same story and it still be the same story
Hmm.
because these characters are so like they're like the type of this kind of character, right? Wesley's like the hero
Mhm.
who he's only been out at sea for 5 years, but he becomes like a master fencer and like he becomes immune to poison and all these things, you know? Like he can do all these things in a really quick amount of time because that's the character that he is, right? He's like the humble beginnings hero. And every
Hmm.
humble beginnings hero you see afterwards, you're kind of like, this is kind of like Wesley from The Princess Bride.
Yeah.
True.
And Buttercup too. She's the damsel in distress, I guess, but she's never really looked down on in the story. She's not ever mocked or belittled unless it was meant that action was meant to be like frowned upon, you know?
Hmm.
Right, right.
It's not like the story does it inadvertently. Everything it does is intentional. And Buttercup is very much respected, like her role is respected within the story. She is noble and dignified, and she loves so deeply with her whole entire heart and body. Like, she's fascinating. I've seen a couple of people try to like talk crap about Buttercup, and I absolutely will not stand it. I love her so much. I think she's an amazing character. Yeah, really cool lady.
Hmm. Yeah, I think she kind of got an upgrade into the movie. I think in the book she's not bad, but she's a little more passive. And I feel
Mhm.
like again that's where the movie improves on it by having Robin Wright there and having her be, a fiery, active character and not just kind
Mhm.
of being the damsel in distress. I don't think it's exactly like that in the book, but I think it is kind of an upgrade for her to
Mhm.
have the way that she's characterized in the movie, which I think is awesome. And she kind of is the main character. I don't know. It's hard
Yeah.
to say exactly because, there's a lot going on, but it's kind of like from her perspective as you like start out with her at the farm and then as she moves into the city and the royal scene with the prince and everything. Wesley leaves and then comes back and all the other characters kind of revolve around her storyline. And then, we get the cool glimpses of what's going on in their lives too, but she's kind of the one that we are seeing the story through.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. No character is introduced until it's like their first interaction with Buttercup.
Hmm.
Most of the things happen kind of in spite of her rather than like because of her direct action. It is still very much like a Buttercup centered story.
Hmm.
Mhm.
But I love that that doesn't make it like weak or or like, uninteresting because
Mhm.
not that stories about, I don't know. Anyway, but like in the movie where there's the kid who's like, is this a kissing book? Like, am I not going to be into this? And it's like, no, it's about pirates and fighting and revenge and, fencing, all this, these different aspects that make it way more exciting and really an adventure book. But it is,
And true love.
about, yeah, and
I
it's
love,
the grand romance, right? That's
yeah, the
the
grandpa, he's
driving.
like, these are other elements to it, but ultimately, this is what it is about, is true love. Like, I love the grandpa because he doesn't
Mhm.
feed into the kids' insecurities. He's like, it is. It's it's more than what you're thinking of. It's a book about true love.
Hmm.
Here are the things that I'm going to tempt you into, like, being interested in the book about, but he doesn't be like,
Right,
I
right.
know
Fencing,
kissing,
fighting, torture,
right?
revenge first, and
Uh-huh.
then he ends with true love and miracles, and you're like, ah, I
Mhm.
see what you're doing, Grandpa.
Yeah, you're being so
Hmm.
sneaky.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 No, but he doesn't let the kid, like, obviously he's like 10 years old. He's gonna be embarrassed about books about kissing, but Grandpa doesn't let that dissuade him.
Mhm.
Nor should he.
But
What a
yeah, and I think
hero.
that's one of the things that makes it so amazing and relatable is, that kind of, it's sort of a commentary on the way that fairy tales bring people together, and that even if you're a kid or an adult or, grandpa, anywhere in between, that is something that we can all relate to. Is the desire for true love and for adventure and for all of those elements are just so relevant to everybody.
Mm.
Yeah, totally. And I love that the story tells like it's about, like we said, Wesley and Buttercup's relationship, but then it also has several other elements of like different kinds of true love, right? Like
Hmm.
Inigo's driving force to avenge his father because of the love between father and son, or like he finds love in his friendship with Fezzik, or all these things. Like you see a bunch of different kinds of love that really are the driving force for all of these characters and the things that they do.
And going back to like how Buttercup is betrayed a little bit too. You touched on this, Kelly, when you said like it's she's not necessarily like a girl boss CEO character. And we've talked about this a lot, Olivia and I. Like the idea that they're they're so focused on writing a strong female character that they strip away traditionally feminine traits and make
Hmm.
her like, loud and outspoken and kind of aggressive. And they frown on characters and people with those more traditionally like feminine traits of being, more quiet and soft spoken and a little bit more passive. But
Hmm.
so I really, really like that Buttercup is that soft-spoken character and she's still respected within the story. And it just really frustrates me to see female characters be like looked down on because they are more passive, for lack of a better word. They're a little bit more quiet, like from Sense and Sensibility. What's her name? You know.
Eleanor.
Uh,
Yeah, thank you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think people, the danger there is like thinking that a strong female character just has to be like a masculine female character, instead of
Hmm.
like the whole point of a strong character is that like this, the character themselves has depth, right? Whether you
Yeah.
agree with what they're doing or not, or you think they're like totally morally upright and courageous and whatever, like they're a strong character as in a well-written character, not as in like a girl boss necessarily, which
Right.
like has its place,
Mhm.
but it would be weird. Like the story would just run very differently if Buttercup was like, I don't need a man, because then Wesley's like, well, then why did I come back?
Yeah.
Like he does the whole thing, like before he reveals his identity, he has this like test to see if she still really loves him. And if she was like, no, actually, I'm good, the movie would be over. Right? She has to have that kind of like lingering emotion that's driving all the rest of her, and she has to have that kind of like passivity where things just happen to her and it's out of her control because that's how the
Hmm.
story works.
Right. And the whole
Yeah.
situation with Humperdinck coming in and being like, you're going to marry me. And, she obviously had options at that point, but she, made a choice. She's like, okay, well, I guess, we're going to go along like this. And then she gets kidnapped. And, like we said, things are happening to her, but it's not like that she's not still reacting and having depth in the way that she, deals with the different things that happen to her. I agree that like sometimes we kind of add value to things that are more masculine, and even when we are dealing with female characters, it's like, oh, that their value goes up as they're more masculine, as
Yeah.
those character traits of being aggressive or outspoken or whatever, that those are more valuable to society, or as characters, and that just is not true. And
Word. Like
in
there's
in
strength in a
real
lot of different
yeah, yeah,
traits and
and in
qualities.
real life,
Yeah.
that we don't want everyone to all be outspoken and aggressive, or else society would be in shambles, even more than it already is.
Right.
Um, Real quick,
Like we need
my
some
dad,
difference of opinion here.
yes. Real quick, my dad is trying to call me, so I am going to leave and I'll be right back.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's a lot of different ways to be like a strong character, and it's very needed that they all are so different. Like they all have, like I was saying before, they all like typify a particular kind of character.
Mhm.
Um, and it's necessary that there's all these different kinds of characters that have to work together in the story instead of it just being like 10 Wesleys, right? And then
Uh-huh.
that's less
Yeah.
interesting and it wouldn't work out. But because they're all different people and have to figure out how to work together to achieve their different goals, it's a much more interesting story than if they just all had the same personality because certain personalities are weak and others are strong.
hmm Yeah, and I think too that not only do they all have different personalities, but they're not like throwaway stock characters of like he's
Mhm.
the funny sidekick and he's the hero, and even though they you can sort of characterize them in those different ways, they have so much depth in their roles and their those different um roles that they play in the story, and that adds a lot.
I agree.
Yeah.
And they're kind of fun too, because they're all archetypal characters, but they're all a little bit the opposite of their archetype as well,
hmm
which is so fun and crazy that they were able to do that. They captured lightning in a bottle like 8 times
Yeah.
with every single character. It's amazing.
Yeah.
hmm
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I think honestly, like the one the most one-dimensional character is Vicini, and it doesn't even matter because he's like the funniest character of all time. You don't mind that you don't get to see his character develop. He's like in 3 scenes and then he dies. But each of those scenes, like he says ridiculous things, and he obviously sees himself as this like big, smart, capable person, and at the end of the day, he's just none of those things, but in a really comedic way.
It's
So
Yeah.
it's
awesome. It's
fine.
so funny. Wallace Shawn? Shawn Wallace? Wallace Shawn, right?
Wallace Shawn, yeah.
Yeah.
He's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, watching it last night, I was like, every single line of his, I obviously knew what it was going to be before it happened because I've seen this movie probably 800 times, but it's still like, he cracked me up.
And he takes himself so seriously. Like you said, like he obviously
Yes.
has this picture in his head of who he is and what he's like that's just a total mismatch from what is real. And I love the way that he interacts with kind of the henchmen, in his little
Mhm.
scheme of having Inigo and Fezzik there with him. And he's like, you guys just don't get it. Like, you just have to trust me and I know what's going on. And they are like sort of willing to go along with that, but they can kind of pick up on the fact that he does not actually
It's
typify any of those qualities that he has in his
Yeah,
head.
yeah,
They're like,
it's
"Are
the
you
perfect
are you
coworker
sure?"
relationship.
But they're like, "Okay,
This
you're
guy
the
pays the
boss."
bills.
right. Yeah,
He signs their paycheck, but absolutely they're gonna goof off with rhymes on the
yeah.
boat.
Like they
They don't
don't
care,
have a
whatever.
loyalty to his like his preferences. It's just a
Yeah.
loyalty to like getting the job done. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah,
And
Yeah.
like all terrible jobs, if you have like that bond with a coworker where you go through a horrible nightmare shift together, you are bonded for
yeah,
life. So yeah, they're inseparable forever.
Right.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that definite like we're aware that our boss does not know what's going on, but that's like above our pay grade to like,
Hmm.
actually help
Right.
things improve in any way. So
Yeah.
we're just gonna go along with this and do what
Yeah,
we're paid
and
to do.
they're not really evil. Obviously, Vicini thinks he's all that, and he kind of knows well enough what they're doing to know that it's wrong. But again, they're Inigo and Physic are mostly there for the paycheck, and so you don't really feel it's very, very easy switch when they start working all together, and you don't even really you're not ever really rooting against them.
Yeah, no, they're never
Right,
really the
right. They're
villain of
like
the story.
evil henchmen, but they're not.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
kidnapped
And
a
part of it
lady,
is
and the
that
whole time I'm like, yeah, you go,
they're like,
guys.
oh, I love them. Yeah. But I think we see that in there's a couple like setups pretty early that we realize that they're not the real villains. Um, and it's partly, he has Inigo when he like meets with Wesley and he's like, well, wait until you're ready. They like swap backstory. So you see this like, oh, he's just in this because he has this like other bigger thing going on in his life, and this is like
Mhm.
passing the time so that he can find Count Rugen. Um, or like little things like that. And we also see like Prince Humperdinck and Count Rugen being so ridiculous and full of themselves that you
And they're
like
in
it's
love.
pretty quick to see that they're the real villains. And so then you root for Inigo and Fezzik because not only are they like nice guys who are caught up in a bad situation, but they're like not even supposed to be the villains of the story. It's supposed to be Humperdinck.
Right.
So we have that like pretty much from the beginning, so it's easy to just go along with whatever they're doing and know that they're going to work it out.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And you can see how much Inigo values Physic too. Like he, they're rhyming together. They're talking, and obviously Vicini doesn't value Physic's intellect all. He's
Mm-mm.
like, you're gonna do it your way. It's smashing people over the head with a rock. That's your way. You've always done it that way. And Physic's like, man, that's kind of messed up with me. Oh my gosh. Like,
Yeah. It's like, really? That's my way?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But like being around people who let him exercise his own like and value him as a person, as a contributor to plans, is when he really begins to blossom and thrive, and it's amazing.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, of course you want to be like, yeah, he cares about good sportsmanship. Both of them do. Amazing. I
Yeah,
love them.
yeah, yeah. They're not, because they're not evil. They're not bad
Yeah.
guys. They're just like, they're just doing their
No.
job.
And they're so nice
Yeah,
to Buttercup too. Like her
yeah,
relationship with them
Yes.
during the kidnapping is sweet. You're like, oh, they're like being nice to her. And,
Yeah.
yeah,
even
yeah.
though they're
So then at
kidnapping
the
her, that
end,
it's not
when they do
personal.
like the whole like wedding prison break thing, she sees them and is like, ah, I'm so glad it's them.
Uh-huh.
Which if they
Yeah.
had been bad to
Yeah.
her just because they were playing the part of bad guys, then that whole vibe would be really different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She would be
You
like,
you
you're
know
the
if
rescue team?
yeah, you know if Vicini showed back up, she'd be like, "Holy balls. Unbelievable."
No. Yeah,
But
crazy, crazy.
I'm sorry, real quick, to go back to Buttercup,
Yeah.
the little amounts of rebellion and agency that she does show are really cool. Like the shrieking eels. She's fully
Mhm.
gonna swim away through the sea. That's her plan. That's awesome. She's like, whatever, I mean, I don't care. And
Yeah.
it's really cool to see how much she does love Wesley because of how little she starts to value her own life. And obviously, we have media literacy, everybody. We can, this is not ideal in a real life kind of relationship, but in a fairy tale relationship and a movie where we know, you know, we're aware of
Mhm.
these things. It's
It was written
really
down for me
cool.
in a script, and how did I know where to stand? People told me. That's
People
like,
told me.
yeah.
Yeah. And it's really cool because we start the movie with her not really valuing her own life because she's lost Wesley to going to the end of the movie and she says intentionally, I am going to kill myself if you don't let me be with him. It's not a passive, I'm not, it's not worth living. It's like an act of rebellion. It's an action. Do you see what I'm saying? Do you see what I'm
Mhm.
trying to get at? The difference between those two things? It's like I don't value my life
Mhm.
enough to do anything with it, and I don't care if I die, to I am going to make something of my life, and you
Right.
will not get
As a
to
choice
dictate my
against,
life.
yeah.
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 Well, and she gets even more character growth too, because before she's in love with Wesley, she's kind of just oblivious. She's just doing her own thing, right? And she's like, farm boy,
Yeah.
do this, farm boy, do that. And then we get to watch her not only, go from being in love kind of more passively to being in love in a more active way, but going from not even being in love at all in the first place and her realizing like, oh, I am in love with him and I'm going to do something about it. And then, um, continuing through the rest of the story. So she grows so much over the course of the plot and everything that happens.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And that's what an
Yeah.
incredible opening, because I infinitely prefer watching people fall in love to watching just two people who they say promise promise they are in love, believe me, you know? And it's amazing because you watch this scene for like 5 minutes and it's just a couple of shots here and there of like as you wish, and she's like, okay, whatever, to oh no, hand me that jug, and he's like, okie dokie. It's just like 5 scenes. Do you see what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
it's amazing because I feel like that sequence has more depth and emotion to it than like 90% of romance movies I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Even just thinking about it makes me want to cry.
It's way more
Hmm.
believable. Yeah, yeah. And it's
Yes,
interesting too,
totally.
like she gains a sense of like autonomy in her life through falling in love, and but she also like recognizes him as a person. Like she calls him farm boy for, the whole time until she realizes they're in love. And then for the entire rest of the movie, she calls him Wesley. As soon as she realizes that he's Wesley and not Dread Pirate Roberts, that's what she calls him. She never really goes back to like, you know what I mean? So she sees
Yeah.
like a growth in herself and then also recognizes like the same level of personhood and autonomy in somebody else, which is nice. And which is actually going back to Vizzini as well. That's something that he is missing, right? Not only does he say like veer left because he doesn't know like ship directions, but he talks about like you bested my giant, you bested my Spaniard, right? They're just like
Yeah.
little toys that he has that he gets to manipulate however he pleases, and he never really sees people like at the same level as he is because he's too cool and too smart to be
Hmm.
seen on the same level as anybody else.
Yeah, and even
A good
Buttercup,
He's in
point.
charge.
he just calls her princess, right? He's just like,
Mhm.
you're another pawn in my plans.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The princess, the man in black, my giant, my Spaniard, right? It's like moving these pieces around without ever, yeah, seeing them for people. Oh, sweet.
Oh.
And cuddling.
Yeah, I think
Ruby. Hello.
Humperdinck really is also interesting in the movie. I mean, just in the story in general, movie and book, that he's such a character too. He's not just like a, throwaway villain that is just greedy or whatever. Like he's got a lot of interesting things going on.
Mhm. I think he's
He's
he's similar to
utterly
Vizzini in the sense
ridiculous.
that like he's totally ridiculous. He sees himself as this like totally grand person, but deep down he's a coward. And I think that's a really interesting thing. Like you see the prince of this kingdom, and he's a hunter, and all of his men, would do and sacrifice their lives for him. But it isn't because he's actually noble in character. It's like just because he's noble in like class. But he folds so easily. Like
He's so pathetic. I
Yeah.
love
Yes,
him
it's
a
so
lot.
funny.
He's
He's
so funny.
awesome. Yeah. The script is really funny. I think Kelly, like you were saying, like that the writer had done screenplays in the past and then wrote these characters and then now has a chance to kind of combine those two. I think it's clear that like he has a background in screenplay and also that he's really familiar with these characters because they will say the funniest things. Like I just think it's so well written, and it's maybe largely because it's like an adaptation of his story again. So he
Hmm.
has like that extra sense of, oh, I know how the story is supposed to go. I know who these characters are. So I can let them say just super funny things.
I have a wife to murder, a war to start. I'm
I'm
swamped.
swamped. Yeah.
That's hysterical.
Yeah,
You
he's so
can't
funny.
you can't walk through this movie without tripping over a funny line.
No,
Yeah.
I was talking to my mom about it actually today, and she went out and saw The Princess Bride in theaters when it premiered with her friends.
I
And she
forgot that people
said,
got to do that.
I know. I
Oh
was
my
like,
God.
oh yeah, like it has to have come out at some point, and there were people that
Right.
went and saw it when
It
it
feels
came
like it
out.
just always
Yeah,
existed.
it wasn't
Yeah,
just an
yeah.
instant download into the psyche of humanity.
And she said that they all, she was maybe like a junior in high school. She said that they all walked out of the theater already quoting the lines and already in love with Wesley. But she was like, those were the takeaways. We're all in love with Wesley and we have memorized every line.
Yeah.
Good and true and
That's
correct.
yeah, that's just how it goes.
Which there's some
It's
movies
so
that are
funny.
still good, but that you couldn't really quote, that you're like, yeah, that was good, but I don't really know what
Yeah.
anyone said. That wasn't
Or
really the point.
alternatively, you have a movie that's really bad, but so quotable and really funny.
Right,
But
because it's
it's
Hmm.
just
not like it's
quips.
quality.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, like the movie Masterminds with Zach Galifianakis. That's probably one of the funniest movies ever made, and I don't think it's very good, but I do think about a lot of the quotes all of the time. But I wouldn't say it's a
Hmm.
good movie, you know? Princess
Right.
Bride is both a
Right.
good driver for a woman and a good driver overall.
Right. Yeah.
Just the best of
Yeah.
both worlds.
Whitney will recover. Um, I love Count Rugen as well. I love that his first name is Tyrone, and it's said once. Tyrone Rugen. Um, he like wants to be a psychologist, but he's stuck as like the right hand man of the prince, you know? Like everything he says, like he just has like that like cadence, where he's like, I'm gonna say something
How does that make you
ridiculous
feel?
in a calming voice. Yeah. I'm really interested in studying pain. He invented the machine so that he could study pain and
Yeah.
make his little
And
notes.
when
Like he just
and when
speaks
Inigo
very,
shows up, he's like, "Oh, your relationship with your father." Like,
yeah, yeah,
he's
yeah.
he's
You
interested
have an
in
Yeah.
like
overdeveloped sense of
what
vengeance. Let's talk about that. Like,
yeah.
overdeveloped sense of vengeance is like so therapy speak. It's so funny to me that he is a psychologist as a person, but just his role is different than that. So you see it kind of like
Evil
popping
advisor.
out. Yeah,
It is funny
that's
too because he
it's a
is
funny
evil
dynamic.
advisor, but most of the time in fiction, the evil advisor is like secret evil advisor, where it's like, this is my advisor, evil henchman man. And it's like,
Mhm. Right,
okay,
like his
so
name is
he's
yeah,
like,
his name is Wormtongue, but don't worry about that. He's a chill
yeah,
guy. You're like
yeah,
he
no, he's
can't be a
great.
chill guy. His name's Wormtongue,
And he look
and he's never washed his
respectfully looks,
hair.
no, yeah, like, come on, man.
Yeah.
But Count Rugen, I love him in Prince Humperdinck because he's openly evil. But like it's not like he's trying to be manipulative or secret
Right.
with his guy with Prince Humperdinck.
Hmm.
They're just evil and like what's the word I'm looking for? Candid about their wicked plans. But
Right.
it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you need to
I
get
think
some
people
rest.
see them around the palace and they're like, oh, and there goes Prince Humperdinck and his evil advisor. Like, as if it's just normal. They
Yeah,
recognize the story that they're in.
I feel like his
Right.
relationship with Humperdinck too is interesting because they're not exactly on the same page. Like I think he's kind of more aware of how ridiculous Humperdinck is, but is like
Yeah.
willing to roll with it for his own
Hmm.
purposes. And it's
Yeah.
equally ridiculous, but not recognizing that in himself. So
Hmm.
he's kind of like, yeah, like I'm in this position with this prince where I am able to indulge my weird interests, in the pits of despair and build my little machine, and we can
And
do
isn't
evil
that what
things
you want
together.
in a friend and a boss?
Right?
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, and if he's like kind of secretly a coward or weird about, what's going on with the princess and his, wife and everything, like that's, not a concern of mine.
Right. And
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
he's so calm the whole time. He's so calm, he's collected. There's only a few times that we see him like lose his cool. It's when Humperdinck comes in, turns the machine up to 50, and he's like, not to 50!
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Starts writing it. He's like, I mean, damn, I wouldn't have done it, but now that we're here, might as well get something out of it.
Might as well
And
take some notes. Yeah.
yeah, but then the
For
second time
science.
is when Inigo is chasing him down and keeps repeating over and over again, my name is
Stop
Inigo Montoya.
saying
You
that.
stop saying that. That's when he really loses it, and he's starting
Uh-huh.
to unravel. And it's amazing. And we'll talk about
This
more.
is
We'll talk about Inigo more. We got to build up to it.
I was
Because
gonna say this is probably like a
that scene's
super
awesome.
thin link, but it reminded me just barely of What About Bob? Have you guys seen that movie?
I love that movie.
It just makes me think of this, the psychologist that then loses his cool. Like I feel like that the psychologist is more capable of being calm and collected, but then once he loses it, it's a bigger switch that everything is just gone, you know?
And then
Yeah.
he blows up his whole house.
Yep,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I watched that movie in the carpooling with Ellie Anderson, who Olivia knows we were coming
Oh
back.
yeah.
I don't know, maybe I don't think you were there. It was like a choir trip that then we had to leave early for something. So Ellie's dad was like, "You guys are gonna love this," and throws on "What About Bob" in the car for a bunch of high school kids, and we're like,
Yeah.
"Okay."
What
So
about Bob?
That sounds right.
we're a
That's so
captive
funny.
audience. So anyway,
That's literally my dream. I want so badly to be able to trap people I love in a car with me for hours at a time and show them the movies that I love.
yeah.
One day
Yeah.
I'll get
Yeah.
there. But of all the movies for it to be, I'm so glad it was What About Bob. I love that one so much. Bill Murray is a treat and a
Yeah.
half. He's supposed to be, that's his job, is to be able to process things in an emotional way. And Count Rugen has that air about him. He was just born a
Hmm.
couple centuries too early to be a really good toxic evil therapist like Hannibal Lecter. He could have been,
Yeah.
yeah.
I was gonna say Tyrone Rugen could do Silence of the Lambs.
When he's doing his own study, right? He's got this
Mhm.
machine. He's taking notes. He would love, like the world of doing research in psychology too.
Yeah.
He would have
Yeah.
been perfect in the 70s.
He
They
would,
could do
yeah, he would have loved it
anything back then.
right before there was like ethical psychology. Like just before that, I think he would have been really good. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
He's
Psychology,
awesome.
it's kind of funny that way. Well, just social sciences in general. Education is that way too. Whitney, I don't know if you know this, but I am a teacher. I teach fourth grade. Not currently because I'm on maternity
Amazing.
leave.
Because of the
Um,
baby.
Yes,
Mhm.
Yeah,
but there's all kinds of things that, we could know a lot more about if we didn't have any morals about what we did or didn't do with children. But
for sure.
Mhm.
you can't really take, a person or a class or whatever and then be like, what would happen if we just didn't teach them math or, and like that would be cool. And some people get away with that kind of thing, but at some point, some parent is going to be like, actually, I think that is not worth it to not teach my child math.
Yeah.
Maybe not worth it to torture someone with the machine and just see how they feel having years of their life drained away, you know.
But we won't know until we try.
Right. That's
Mhm.
that's the
Yeah,
benefit
yeah.
of
It's
being in the
always the
Middle
thing
Ages.
like, yeah, you have to be the person who comes after to say all those guys in the past were wrong.
But
But
we
given
did
what they
learn from
learned
what
for
they did.
us,
Yeah.
yeah,
We stand on the shoulders of questionably ethical research that was done.
Don't we
yeah,
all? And real quick, can I
exactly.
just say thank you for your service? Not everybody can be fourth grade teachers. And
Oh, I
Mhm.
love teaching fourth grade.
I think you're amazing. That's
Thank you.
awesome. Not everybody can be a fourth grade teacher, and not everybody can be a good fourth grade teacher who loves their job. It's
Mhm.
almost like people who like kids and teaching should be teachers, but that's not how it works all the time. So thank you
Well,
for you're doing God's work.
thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. I also take great pleasure in getting to be like a kind of quirky fourth grade teacher and to like be in the position of like, if I want to show my kids weird random clips, I can't, Like we were reading this thing
Nice.
about I don't know, it was some story about someone who had polio and being in the hospital with this other kid who had polio who was in an iron lung and they really liked the what's it called? The Lone Ranger. They would watch that. And of course, these 9-year-olds born in 2015, they're like, what is the Lone Ranger? And I'm like, you know what we're watching today? A clip of the Lone Ranger. You can't, you have to like, build that culture. Somebody has to do it.
Yeah, yeah,
And like,
totally.
they didn't, she named her wheelchair Silver. And I'm like, this is not going to go over our heads. We need to,
Aw.
we need to be aware of this. And then when we read Brindle, and they called their teacher, Frindle, and their teacher, Mrs. Granger, they call her the Lone Granger. And that was one of the most rewarding moments of my life when one of the 9-year-olds is like, "Hey, that's like a joke with the Lone
So
Ranger." Like,
sweet. Oh,
I have done my job.
amazing.
They recognize
That's
that. Anyway,
that's the point too, right? Like not to
yeah.
Yeah.
just teach what's in the book, but apply it in real life. And if applying
Hmm.
it in real life means watching clips,
So what are
Yeah.
you gonna do?
and
And
as a
Yeah.
student,
knowing,
there was nothing more thrilling than flicking those lights off and turning on the projector. That's
it was a great
what a
moment.
rush. Can I ask, was it a clip from the Lone Ranger from 2013 by chance, or the old
No, it was the older one. I just played the kind of the theme, the
awesome?
Mhm.
with the
Yeah.
intro.
Cool.
Yeah. It's crazy how much of our like American culture is steeped in the Lone Ranger, but we don't even know why. Like the theme,
Mhm.
everybody knows the Lone Ranger theme and they've never seen it. Everybody just knows Hi Ho Silver, right? There's
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
so many like phrases and like melodies that we just kind of know. There's part of
Uh-huh.
the zeitgeist, but nobody can really pinpoint, oh, it's because of the Lone Ranger. So it's good you're keeping the
Mhm.
culture alive.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a real thing the funniest thing too for me is was a young teacher. I started teaching right out of college, but there's a lot of teachers that are, between 25, 30, like in that younger range. And it's weird to think that like we're the ones that are educating the future generation. Like there's older teachers too, but like it just it's weird to think about how culture and like what movies are popular and what things people recognize as part of the culture,
Mhm.
what ones of those stick around and why. And
Mhm.
it's weird sometimes to think like, oh, like I am the teacher. They know long division because of me. And also they know about the Lone Ranger because of me.
Yeah.
Like no pressure.
That's
Yeah, you
that's
have
funny.
to
That
be now
reminds me.
acutely aware of like parts of culture that should carry on so that you can
Hmm.
kind of bring those forward and which things to like not talk about so much. That is
Right.
interesting.
Yeah, there's another thing that I unabashedly support vaccines in my class, especially while we were reading that polio uh, short
Yeah,
story. I was like, I'm not
no
even going
kidding.
to politicize this. Like, vaccines are wonderful. Like, isn't it amazing that you don't all have polio? Like, I'm not going to even make you aware of the fact that this is politicized by some people because it's just
Yeah.
science.
And how could it
Yeah.
be?
Yeah.
We will,
That's a whole other
but we
topic,
shan't get
whole
into
other
it.
can of
We
worms.
shan't get.
But that I feel privileged in my role as a teacher to be in a position every once in a while to, have a little soapbox like that
Mhm.
and be like,
And to
I'm
Based
introduce
just
and
gonna.
cool.
children to things like before they realize that there's politics about it. Because like
Hmm.
9 years old is a young enough age that you can just learn about the science of vaccines without it having to be like this weird like and also in Texas some kids got the measles like because of all these reasons, you know what I mean? Like it's okay to just keep it simple. That's a good age for them to have that
Simple and
understanding without
positive.
having to like pick sides.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. And what if it sparks interest in the fields of STEM and well, how did they do that? How did they figure it out? Maybe you made
Yeah.
kids be doctors in the future. Incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or at
Yeah.
least maybe like question if someone tells them that that's not true and they're like, huh, that's funny because I thought it was like science. That's what my
Mhm.
fourth grade teacher said.
Yeah. I remember having an experience kind of like that, where my teacher asked us how old was I? I think it was like second grade, second or third grade. And my teacher uh, uh, played Eye of the Tiger for us in class and was like, does anybody know what movie this is from? And no one knew. She's like, okay, extra credit assignment. If you go home, ask your parents, figure out what movie it's from. If you come in and tell me, I'll give you bonus points. And actually,
Nice.
sidetrack here, a couple of us were like, well, what if we don't go home and ask our parents? What if we just go next door and ask the teacher next door and see if she knows? So we did, and she told us, and then we went back and told her, and then we got in trouble for telling her too early because we didn't wait until we could go home and ask our parents. for those of us who maybe didn't know that the waiting until we got home was the integral part of that assignment, it was a little disappointing to get in trouble instead of get bonus points. But
You're like, wait, but that was so fast.
yeah, exactly. It was like I thought
I
we
mean,
were supposed to do it quick.
in second grade, being fast is like one of the main drives, I think.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
Yeah, so
from
that
my teacher perspective, I wonder if part of it is like, she wanted that kind of bonding moment of you being interested in something that your parents knew about and like interacting with them.
mhm.
Yeah.
I will say I don't think that was it. I think if it were any other teacher, that could be a plausible excuse. But this is Olivia. I've told you about her before. This is the lady who yelled at me for not getting on the wrong bus, and then I had to get
Right.
on the wrong bus and ride home because she yelled at me. She was a mean lady. She was not
Oh,
nice. She just liked to be in charge and to be in control of little tiny people.
that's sad.
Um, it was
Mhm.
sad, but I did go home and tell the story to my parents, not the getting in trouble part, because I was scared of getting in trouble again. But they did tell me. My dad was like, I haven't showed my second grader Rocky yet. I failed as a parent. And so we watched all the Rocky movies multiple times. I loved them. It was great. So now I like the Rocky movies. And then when Creed started coming out and those ones, it was like, I mean, we don't need to do our homework in this household. We already know these movies.
Right.
We're set. Yeah. Oh, The Princess Bride.
Yeah, I've seen it. It was one
Yeah,
of like
good movie.
when I was little, we had, we watched movies on our joint DVD VCR player, you know?
Yeah, us too.
And that was like the main thing. Like we didn't have really cable TV. We didn't go out to watch movies that much. So I had like some movies that I loved, and I would come home from school every day and be like, you know what I can watch because I don't have to wait for streaming. I just have it on DVD. So
I
there
don't
was
have
like
to
a
ask
good
what
probably
platform it's
couple
on.
yeah, exactly.
Boob.
There's like a good couple months probably in like third grade or something where I watched like The Princess Bride every day after school just as my ritual. I was like, well, now that I'm home, I got plenty of time. Let's pop in this movie. So, so I've seen it, is what I'm saying. To a movie. Also, one time when I was in first grade, I got in trouble for saying the word bitch because I had seen it in this movie and I didn't know that it was bad.
Wow.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Did you tell
I
your teacher that
cried.
that was why? Like, but in The Princess Bride.
Supposed to know that's a bad word. I'm 6.
As a recently become parent, I was wondering about that. I was like, so when do you sit down and say, okay, here's a list of words you're not supposed to say? Or do you just like wait until it comes up? I don't. And it's not like
Yeah.
a not ever supposed to say ever, but like a just so you know, these words are kind of in a different category of words than other words, and we
Right.
probably aren't
Word.
going to use them a lot, especially not at school. But like
Right, right,
you're
right.
going to hear them. I don't know.
You're
That's
gonna
a
hear these
I
words and here's why and yeah, I don't know. I think you could
I
probably
will
just
tell you
tell her
my
now and then see if she remembers
yeah,
when she
keep
well,
re
hears
maybe
that's the
reinforce every
funny
now and then.
thing. It's like I probably, I got some time to figure out my parenting strategy there. She is 1 month old, but
I will say my parents they did do it at a very early age because they weren't my first words, but it was very soon after I started to learn how to talk. Um I would say the phrase stupid damn dog all the time because my parents at the time lived next to neighbors with very loud dogs. And so I would say to my mom, I want to watch Courage the Stupid Damn Dog because I just thought that was how to say it. I just thought that was what how you talk about dogs. This is a stupid damn dog. Um, so I think they had a talk with me about it then, but then growing up, I just kind of didn't realize that a lot of words were bad words.
Mhm.
Like shit, that's just like flavor. It's just like an
Right,
adjective.
that's a
Like
garnish on the end of your sentence.
right, yeah, I didn't.
That's emphasis. That's punctuation.
I
Yeah,
remember
I think
like
that's the hard
hearing
thing
someone
too of
else
like
get in trouble for swearing and thinking, "Oh, that one?
oh,
so I
Really?
shouldn't have been
Oh."
saying that whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I think it's yeah,
What?
that was part of that was the thing for me because I like had heard the word on movie, and nobody ever was like, by the way, there are only certain contexts in which that's allowed, or you know what I mean? So I
Mhm.
just didn't think about it. And then so I think the danger of like getting in trouble or just like not knowing the way that words are used derogatorily because we just have never experienced them being used that way. Kind of, yeah, kind of
Hmm.
interesting.
Keep us updated on
Yeah, I'll let you know.
when you
Well,
decide
and
to
I
talk
think,
about it.
yeah, I think it too, it's a little different just because both my husband and I did not grow up in households with any swearing at all, and neither of us really swear much. And it's not like that I have a personal, it's not like a big problem for me, but I also just don't, it's not like I'm not in the habit. So I would,
Yeah.
I doubt that she is going to hear it very much ever at our house. And so that's like, or that, she would say it or just not hear it from us. So then I'm like, I don't really know when would be a good time to bring it up if it's not, going to happen until she's hearing it from other people at an older age.
You
But
could
yeah,
get
Right.
in the habit of swearing, so then she's
that's
around it more.
that's
And this,
always an option.
Yeah, there you go. Just kind of thicken
Scra-
up her skin before she goes to school.
do you have any fun swear replacement words that you say?
I don't know.
Because I have a friend, she got me in the habit of saying beans all the time,
Being,
and I love it. Like, oh, beans, I forgot to do this.
well,
Because
we
it's
we
it's cute. It's
we do
adorable.
It
ironically
is
say
cute.
dag nabbit a lot. We'll be like, well, dag nabbit.
That's a good one. That's a solid.
Mhm.
That's a solid. Yeah.
That is a good
I
one.
Yeah.
I don't I'll have to think about that. I don't know. I honestly think I have a pretty vanilla vocabulary as far as curse words goes, but I will pay more attention to that.
If
We'll
if you
see.
have any other fun dag nabbits or flibberty gibbets, please send them my way.
Mhm.
I will.
I am trying to get out of the habit of swearing as much and into the habit of ridiculous sayings.
I'll let you know if I remember any. And there's one in Hungarian that I use sometimes I served a mission in Hungary, so I speak Hungarian. And they'll say yo egg, which means good heavens. But it's funny because it's like yo and egg, like kind of like egg, but egg.
Mhm.
And that's a good
Egg.
one.
That's
She's
just
like, I
how I
gotta write
say
this
egg.
down.
Yo
Yeah.
egg. It's
Yeah.
J-O with an accent. E with an accent. G. Yo egg. And they use it all the time. Oh, yo egg, good heavens.
Good
It's a good
heavens.
one.
That's
That is
funny. Neil
awesome.
says heavens. He has a t-shirt of a hamster saying heavens in a little speech bubble, so he says it now too. That's just like his heavens. But he's
That's a
also
good one.
quite odd.
My brother Neil. We both have brothers named
Oh,
Neil. My,
fun.
Oh
my
yeah.
brother named
Oh,
Neil.
and fun connection. You both have moms named Heidi.
Your
So
mom
we
was
all
Your
Heidi
mom's named
too?
share a
Heidi.
That's a good connection. Yes.
That's a really good name. That's a solid one. Does your
Mhm.
mom have red hair?
No.
Okay. They're not the same person. We know that. I
My
was
mom
gonna say,
also, I don't think has ever sworn in her life. So
not say that about my mom. Heidi, if you're watching, I love you so much and I really respect you. Um, oh, I was gonna say my brother served his mission in Brazil, and one fun thing that he taught me that I say a lot is que bosta. Que bosta! It means what the
Mhm.
shit. Or que
Mhm.
merda also means what the shit, just a couple different ways to say the same thing. It's also fun to well, maybe I shouldn't say this. This makes me sound unethical. I like learning swears in other languages and then teaching them to my younger nephews.
Mhm.
but that goes into like a philosophical, like, is it really swearing if you don't really know what it means? Or like if you know what it means, but like not really, there's a
Right.
difference between
Well,
like
and a lot
knowing
of
the translation of something and like having that actually be an authentic way that you're expressing that.
Hmm.
So
yeah,
like,
yeah.
if a kid swears in a forest, is it really, you know?
Right. Exactly. Well, because
Yeah.
swearing is like 100% cultural, right? It's like we have
Just
these
all
words that
made
we
up.
develop to mean a certain thing that you're not supposed to say, except under stressful circumstances or whatever it is, right? We have like conditions in which you can and can't say them because it's just cultural taboo. So I do think like if you're teaching them words that are not taboo in their culture, they're not even really swear words because the fact that it's a swear word is like its influence on the people who hear it,
Hmm.
Hmm.
probably
Yeah.
more
Well,
than the person who says it.
yeah, like bloody, that's like a big one in, you know, England, but not really in American English. Um, but that like, if you're aware of it, then suddenly, like I remember a point, as someone who grew up reading Harry Potter a lot, that I, became aware of that and was like, well, what if I have a bloody nose? Like, is it bad to say bloody nose? And, that's like not here,
Hmm.
but yeah, so that it really is more about the people that hear you say it and your intent in saying it than, what the actual words themselves are.
Hmm. And you come down to it, it's all just sounds.
Or shapes on a page if you're writing them out.
That also, yeah. Yo egg. I'm always
Yoig.
saying
Yeah,
that.
that's good. Whitney grew up half in Virginia and half in North Dakota, so she does have a very strange dialect.
No one else has
There,
ever invented
tidbit.
it, ever.
When she says, that's
Nice.
just how I say egg, it's true. She also says orange.
Ew.
Any vowel can
Yeah.
be an E if you believe.
How
Oh
I
dear.
described it once is I managed to fit every vowel sound into every vowel.
Mhm.
So an A just has all of the vowel sounds in it all the time, and there's not really any consistency to how I talk or say things.
Well, in your
But it's
defense,
wrong, and I get made
there's
fun of a lot.
not really any consistency in our language and how vowels work at all. So
Yeah, that's true.
that's another fun thing about being a teacher is that I definitely, like when you learn more about how English as a language works and should be taught, like there are more rules than you'd think. And you're like, oh yeah, I guess like that makes sense that there's a reason why that is that way. That is something that technically you could explain to a child, but that like probably you won't and don't need to. But it just
Yeah.
is, the more that I learn about English and how it works, the more that I'm like, yeah, that checks out of like why we don't really, anyone doesn't really understand the language and how it works. And even if you
Yeah.
do like learn, things about it, that it's like interesting, but it doesn't actually like really help you understand how it works or how to use it, if that makes sense. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
Yes, it absolutely
especially
does.
especially in comparison to other languages.
English
Like
is a hot
Hungarian,
dumpster fire of a language.
Hungarian, just like the vowel will just say that sound anytime that you see that vowel, and that there are very, very specific rules for how everything is used and word order and grammatical
Mhm.
cases. And it's one of those languages that if you learn all the rules, then you can speak it really well. And you just have to learn the rules first. And you can like read out loud without really understanding any of it because you just can learn how to pronounce everything. I think that's pretty typical in other languages, right? That like
Mhm.
Yeah,
you learn what a letter says and that's what it says, but
right. And
not
then English
not in
speakers,
English.
like, and native English speakers get really intimidated by languages that have a lot of like diacritics and stuff because they're like, ah, it's too many letters. I don't know. But then wouldn't that be easier though? Because anytime you see it, you know what sound it is instead
Uh-huh.
of seeing all our like OUGH words and they could be pronounced anyway.
However you
Just pick
want.
away. It could be that one.
It's
Uh-huh.
because we were invaded by the French.
Yeah,
Got their
yeah.
little
It's
French
just
fingers
such
all
a
over in our
funny, like,
vowels.
weird collaboration in English language. How it's like Latin, but it's also Greek, but it's also German, but it's also French.
Uh-huh.
And then we still have like loan words from all of those, but then as well as like grammar and whatever. It's like it's very
Yeah, all the
just
roots
odd.
and
Yeah.
prefixes and suffixes. They actually have in the reading program that my district is using right now, they have cards for like when you're teaching kids what sounds, what letters say, that have like kind of a bar at the bottom that shows you how reliable that is. That like if you see
Huh.
an E, it's like most likely to sound like this. It has like a nice long big
Interesting.
green bar. But it like also could be this sound, and that's like has a small bar of like, this is not very reliable, but sometimes it says this. Isn't
Right.
that
Really
interesting?
cool. I
That's
Yeah,
like
interesting.
that.
Yeah, me too. I was originally going to teach first grade this year, and then ended up switching grades. And so I got like a tiny early view of some of the more basic, like, reading phonics stuff that they
Yeah.
do in younger grades. I've never actually taught a younger grade. I've just done fourth and fifth, and so, they mostly know their letters by then. But I thought that was like an interesting way to approach that. I feel like that things like that help it make more sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's a cool system. I actually really do love English. I like that it's just like an ongoing collaboration project. I am very grateful that I was born speaking this one though.
Hmm.
Right. Instead of having to
Because
Yeah.
learn it
that
later
we
on.
don't have to
That's
learn
Yeah.
English.
Yeah, it
yeah.
just kind of soaks in. Well, all of my other comments on this subject are sad and political. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we barely even scratched the surface of like unschooling. And we don't have
oh, I
to.
haven't even gone in that direction. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
so many sad avenues.
Yeah. And let's pick a happy one. The Princess Bride. Anything
Yeah,
else
I
we
was
want to
gonna
say
say
about the
that sounds
Princess
like a good
Bride?
avenue. I feel like we need to
Okay.
talk at least just for a second about the ROUSs because we only barely touched on that, and I feel like that's a real highlight.
Yes, I agree.
This movie's so awesome.
Yeah, it has every like I love that the world has just these places with things in them, like there's the one sea that has shrieking eels, and there's the one forest that's actually a fire swamp that has
Uh-huh.
lightning sand and ROUSs. Like that's just awesome. Like it's very I think it's written pretty it seems pretty like tongue in cheek, but still you still want to be invested in it, which is
Uh-huh.
kind of a hard balance to find, I think, but they do a really good job.
Yeah.
The ROUS, it's so funny that they're just known by like their
Yeah, by the acronym.
Like somebody saw them once and they were like, that's okay. So it's definitely a rodent. But
But that's not the size I was expecting. We should call it rodents of unusual size.
not giant
Yeah.
rodents,
Awesome.
not like massive rats.
Right. They're just unusual. It's just like an
ROUS.
rodents of unusual size. Yeah.
And that like
Yeah.
their existence is
Awesome.
kind of questioned still. That like
I don't
people
think
are
they
aware
exist.
that
Right.
like yeah, they've said that there's those, but like are we
It's
really
probably
gonna
urban
believe that they
legend.
exist?
I don't think they exist. And he'll bold-faced say, I don't think they exist, even though he just saw one. He's like,
2 seconds before. Yeah.
let's just not.
He's
I don't think
trying
they
to
exist.
manifest. He's trying to la 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 la.
Yeah,
Sticking his head
he's
in the
speaking them out of
lightning sad.
existence. Yeah.
And
Oh,
the
that's
best part
funny.
about them, the best part is it's just a guy in a rat
In a rat
costume.
suit.
And he throws himself full body on Cary Elwes. That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
What more needs to be said? Actually, this needs to be said. That guy, what happened to him? What's the story behind that? Like he got into a bar fight and was in jail, and they wouldn't let him
Yeah.
go
And
because
he
they
was
didn't
like,
believe that he was
I have to go be in a rat suit. And they're like, likely story.
okay.
That sounds made up. I don't believe
Yeah.
that exists.
It's one of I don't believe they exist. It's one of those stories that like it sounds made up, but then you're also like, if you were gonna make it up, why would you pick that? Like he
Like
could
I
say, I'm
literally
gonna
could
be
have
in a
just
movie and said anything, but I'm gonna go be in a movie and I have to dress up as a rodent of unusual size. It's absurd.
yeah, and then to show up later to said movie and be like, sorry, I got pulled over and after I was in this fight and they're like, uh-huh, likely
Amazing.
story.
Likely
Like, oh,
story.
I feel like every single behind the scenes story I've heard about The Princess Bride, every single one is like that.
Sounds
Like,
awesome.
yeah,
It just
and,
sounds
and
like such a great project to be a part of.
yeah, and
yeah.
that people kept like actually getting injured, like the number of people that were actually injured on the set.
A lot of the times that person was Cary Elwes.
Yep.
Statistical, he's the Spider's Georg of The Princess Bride injuries.
Yeah.
And
Didn't
I
he
think
say
of
like,
like,
yeah, no, like you should actually hit me. Like, don't pull your punch. And then he's like in the hospital the next day. They're like, thanks, we actually needed you to be in this movie.
like maybe we should pull our punches a little bit. I love the story of behind the scenes during the Miracle Max scene, which is that Cary Elwes is not on set for most of that. Like if you're seeing his face, that's him. If you're seeing his body, it's absolutely not him. It's a dummy because Billy Crystal would make him laugh so hard. He couldn't be on set anymore. They had to like escort him from the premises. And the same with Rob Reiner, the director.
Yeah,
He like ruined so many takes because he just kept laughing. So they kept like they're like replacing people like who is actually necessary in this scene? It's like just Billy Crystal, Mandy Patinkin, and Andre, and then we can get
right.
everybody else out of here.
Yeah,
Even
They have a
the shots with
full
Mandy Patinkin that made it in the movie, he's half laughing through them. It's so
yeah.
right.
obvious that he's
You can
almost
tell.
crying
You can tell
because he's
that he's
trying not
like
to laugh.
yeah.
Didn't he
But
crack a
like in
rib
his
too?
defense, they had to
Yes.
like make other people leave, so at least he, could still say his
Yeah.
lines.
It's just that's
Yeah.
so funny to me that that was the best they could do. They were like, Literally, it's
Yeah.
not physically possible for us to be in the same room as Billy Crystal and get this
Yeah.
take. So we're just going to
Like because
use this.
it's
Yeah, they're
literally
like,
endangering their
we're
lives because
not
they're cracking
gonna.
ribs laughing so hard.
But I love how it was never like, maybe we should like not have him improv these lines. That wasn't an
Right.
option
Never.
either.
That was never
They're
the
like,
Never an
no,
option.
solution.
we
Yeah.
we will we will replace all of the actors with dummies before we ask him.
Before we get rid of before we give Billy Crystal a script. Yeah. It's like 2 hours, I think, of just him improving, and then they splice together what's in the movie out of those 2 hours, which makes it like the most expensive day on set, like probably combined, like because you have to pay for everything for those 2 hours when you're expecting it to take,
Right.
half that time or a quarter of that time.
Well, there's
But it's like,
that
what are you
scene
going to
and
say no to
then
Billy Crystal?
right. And then the sword fighting scene, right? That
Mhm.
they both actually learned fencing. And I saw something that said that they like, had it all choreographed for like 1 minute or something, and they did it, and that the director was like, so I'm kind of underwhelmed. Like, can we just redo that whole thing? And that they went back and like totally redid it and made
Yeah,
it like
added
3 full minutes
another minute
or
of
something.
choreography. Yeah, I heard that too. That's so cool. And
I
I
remember
think
I
it
was
pays off because it's like one of the most iconic sword fight scenes in any movie.
Yeah,
there
that's gotta have been really worth it.
to
Delayed
the
to be
point
like,
where
yeah.
like every now and then I'll do something stupid and say, I'm not really left-handed. And then just, I feel like that trope has just kind of bled into so many other things. Like I've seen that happen in so many different movies where someone will like do it left-handed and then surprise, they're actually really good. They were just doing
Hmm.
it left-handed.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm not gonna bother looking up whether it happened before this movie because in my heart it didn't. It just was from this movie.
They
But
invented
also,
it.
yes, they did. The sword fighting scene too. I remember I was watching it with somebody once. I don't remember where, but they were like kind of poking fun at like how realistic the sword fighting scene was. Like, oh, of course he's gonna jump on the vine with two perfect hand like cutouts.
Yeah,
Like,
it's a
yeah,
movie. I don't know.
it is. He's looking for a man with 6 fingers who killed his dad. They just climbed up the cliffs of insanity. Then that's their
Right.
name. I think we can take that disbelief a little bit and just
Yeah, I
Suspend
think we
it.
can
suspend
enjoy
it.
like these things that are like, oh, so convenient. We can enjoy them as like good writing of a movie, you know?
Yes.
Hmm. Well, yeah, in
He
this
did like a
movie,
triple flip.
it does such a good job of like not quite taking itself seriously, but still being amazing, Like that it
Yes.
just is such a hard line to walk. But like we know, like yeah, there's handholds on the vine, but nobody cares because it just is that iconic.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think it all comes down to, and I was actually talking about this with my dad yesterday too, because we're watching Psych together. Um, and I think Psych rides that line too, where it doesn't take itself
Hmm.
too seriously, but it's still so sincere. And
Mhm.
The Princess Bride has so much of that too, where yeah, it's a little tongue in cheek and it's a little bit like, oh, these are the trope characters, but they never look down on what they're doing ever.
Right.
It's always
Hmm.
treated with the utmost respect, even within the context of it being a little bit silly. If it's silly, then we're going to commit to it and it's going to be silly. But we're never going to be like,
Yeah, it's never
right, audience?
apologizes. It never
It never
apologizes for
apologizes.
itself.
Exactly. That's, yeah,
Mhm,
the perfect way to say that. It takes itself
mhm,
seriously in the way that it needs to because so it's so genuine. There's so much heart to it. It loves
mhm,
itself, and the people love the movie and the project and each other, and all of that passion shows through the
Mhm.
final product. Like you can tell.
mhm.
That's why it lasts for so long. It's because everyone meant it.
And I think we've talked about this before too, but how like even the most ridiculous premise can land if it is grounded in something that really matters, right? So you see like all these characters they're doing ridiculous things and they're saying the funniest lines you've ever heard, but it is real. Like in the moment we were talking about earlier when Inigo finally meets Count Rugen, and he just keeps repeating, he's like, when I meet this guy, here's what I'm gonna say and here's what I'm gonna do. And then you see it happen, and it's real. And Count Rugen's freaking out, stop saying that, but it doesn't feel like that's not a funny line, right? That's like
Mhm.
a really emotional moment in the movie right before
I'm
like
getting
the
chills right
big
now
thing.
talking about it.
Yeah, just thinking about it, like it's grounded in something it's real and it matters. Like he's
Yeah.
spent his whole life trying to avenge his father's death. There's no way to right that wrong, but the
Mhm.
next best thing he's still gonna do.
Right. I read that he loves that line so much, like the actor, Mandy, I don't remember what his last name is.
Mandy Patinkin.
Yeah. That he that when like has lots of people come up to him and say that line all the time, like daily, and he loves it. He's like, "Yes, that was like the movie that, he I don't know. It seems like that could be annoying if you have like some iconic thing that people keep saying to you and you're like, "Yeah, okay,
Like
yep, I know. I
Bike
said
Right,
that."
Reptar's
Galaxy Quest, Alan
hammer.
Rickman.
Uh-huh. Yeah, but no, he's like, "Yes, I
Awesome.
did that." Like I love that I'm known for that, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, this is probably like Aragorn kicking the helmet and breaking his toe. Like we all, Mandy Patinkin had just lost his father like shortly before doing this movie. Your cat is looking at me. I'm so sorry. That's awesome. He's just watching. He joined in on the call. Hello, thank you. Um, but he says that line with so much meaning and force because he says to himself, and he's like, if I say this, if I believe it hard enough, I can bring my father back.
Mhm.
I'm beating the cancer that took him. And again, it goes back to that heart, that sincerity. That even if you did think that was a funny line, and hello, my name is Inigo Montoya, you kill my father, prepare to die. Even if you had thought maybe before that that was a funny line, hearing that makes it mean that much more because he's not acting there. He means it. Really, truly, in his bones, he means it. And like, I'm gonna cry. This movie's so good.
Yeah, and it can almost do both, right? It can almost still be like funny, iconic line that he says over and over again and be like the kind of thing that
Mhm.
you print on a t-shirt, but also like be super meaningful. It can
Yes,
be
they're
it
not
does
mutually
both.
exclusive.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And on top of everything else, on top of all of that, this movie does what no one else has the guts to do, which is actually kill the bad guy and have a character take revenge on another character without anybody
Mhm.
saying, "Oh, but you're just as bad as them. You're better than this."
You're gonna
No.
regret it.
Yeah. No, he does
Right,
not. He
right.
kills that guy so hard.
Yeah. And I think he does it in a really like poetic way where he leaves him with the same scars that he has, right? The two on the face, the one on the shoulder, and the one here.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it's just, I don't know, poetic cinema. It's really good. But I love there
Film
was an interview with Mandy
movies.
Patinkin. They asked him his favorite line from the movie, and you kind of expect it to be, "Hello, my name is," because that's like the one he said like 15 times in the movie. But it's like right at the end when Buttercup has just jumped out the window and she lands in Fezzik's arms, so beautiful. And he just pauses and he's like, it's funny. I've been in the revenge business so long. Now that it's over, I don't know what to do with the rest of my life. And he said that was his like favorite moment of the whole movie. Just that like heart to heart with Wesley in the window.
And it's
Yeah.
just so poetic then at the end when he's like, have you ever thought about piracy becoming the Dread Pirate Robert. Like that just is such a good full circle moment there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's beautiful because he gets a next step. His
Yeah.
life can start again.
Hmm.
It's not like his life was wasted searching for Count Rugen. It's not like he's like, I can't believe how much time I spent wasting this. I
Hmm.
was in this business for a while, did it, finished
Then
everything I
now
was going
what?
to do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like
next step.
Tangled, right? And now you get a new dream.
Yeah.
Aww, what a good movie.
Yeah,
Jason,
that's
do
so
you have any
good.
thoughts about The Princess Bride?
The Dread Pirate Roberts. Maybe Buttercup isn't the main character. Maybe the Dread Pirate Roberts is the main character of this movie, right? We like hear the legend of the Dread Pirate Roberts from the beginning, right? Murdered by pirates is good, right at the start. And then there's the reveal that Wesley, the Dread Pirate Roberts, was actually Ryan, and the one before that was Cummerbund. Like, it was ridiculous. It's the name, not the person. And then later they're storming the castle, and Fezzik poses like, I'm the Dread Pirate Roberts, and he's this like larger than life man who can burst into flames at a moment's notice. Another thing that like later on people are going to be like, I don't believe that happened. I don't believe they exist. That's urban legend. Those guys are exaggerating. But in the moment, like it's real. So you see like this like the concept of the Dread Pirate Roberts has so much power in these people's
Hmm.
lives, like just in the world that that we live in for the course of the movie. So it's awesome that that Inigo has this opportunity to like become this thing that's so much larger than life, right? He's reached his goal of revenge, and now here's this opportunity where like he's not just some like obscure 11-year-old anymore.
Right. And it's
He's
Yeah.
he's
the Dread
qualified,
Pirate.
right? He's
Yeah.
this amazing swordsman and
Okay.
he just like that just makes sense. It's the next step for him.
Mhm.
I love that.
Well,
So really the Princess Bride is not about Buttercup, it's about the Dread Pirate Roberts.
Yeah.
mhm.
They just
As
called it The Princess
all
Bride
things
because it
are.
has a more romantic name.
Uh-huh.
It would get people to watch it. Like
I do.
reverse, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Kind of unrelated, but there's a movie that I really love that I've showed Whitney, Samurai Rebellion. And it's like the reverse of that, where it's actually like a really thoughtful, like character piece, hugely philosophical, and there's like not a ton of violence. There's like two fight scenes in the whole movie, but it's called Samurai Rebellion because they wanted like the audience of like these violent movies to come in and watch something more introspective. And like so they still get the numbers of these like large audiences coming in,
Uh-huh.
but they feel like they're showing them a more meaningful story than like just like rampant bloodshed for an hour and a half, you know? So it's
Which is
kind of
still fun.
it's either way, I'd watch that movie. But it's interesting that they like specifically named it something that sounds really like adventurous and exciting just to convince that audience to watch something that's outside of their comfort zone. So anyway, it's like the inverse of that. It's like, oh, it's the Dread Pirate Roberts, but we're gonna call it the Princess Bride. Just this lovely name, and then you get into the movie, and it's actually like a lot of adventure and violence. You know, does it have sports? Yeah, and it has true love and miracles too.
Mhm.
At the end.
Yeah, the miracle thing is another funny aspect too. The whole, mostly dead, here's the miracle
Oh my
pill.
gosh.
That that's iconic.
It's awesome. And you're not supposed to go
So,
swimming for at least what, an hour? A good hour.
my father's going to
Oh,
speak.
he's prepared his thoughts. Great. Welcome, Jason.
So my comment is that the soundtrack was made and produced by Mark Knopfler, who is one of the underrated geniuses of
Hmm.
um, all kinds of music, but especially soundtracks. So you probably don't even realize how integral the soundtrack is, and it would be very different without Mark Knopfler's musical genius contribution, which was nominated for an Academy Award.
Did it win?
Did not win. I don't even remember what it lost to, but
Not, it wasn't good enough.
no, but
Didn't deserve it.
that was the song "Storybook Love,"
Uh-huh.
which was nominated for the Academy Awards. So
Mm.
That's sick.
Yeah, it really does have an incredible soundtrack.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And
I
it
think it
is,
has the
it's
perfect
always an underrated
soundtrack
part
that
of,
like the beats always land like during the fights, like I love a
mhm.
soundtrack that's obviously made to like fit in this scene.
Hmm.
yeah, very intentional.
And his music is very much very emotive,
Hmm.
and it's not necessarily what you're expecting. It's not like super pop focused, but the feeling that it gets, he always gets the feeling part right, and that's really
Hmm.
hard to do.
Because the point of a good score, a good soundtrack, I think you've said this before, Olivia, is that you want it to be so good that you don't really notice it's there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really hard for that to be the purpose of something and for it to still be appreciated
Yeah,
for what it does and what
Hmm.
it but
yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
Let
Yeah,
let's
and
hear it
it's
for the score.
There we
I
go.
think it does a lot for the fairy tale feel of it too, right? Because that's a
Yes.
big part of the film that it's a fairy tale. It's not trying to be um I don't know, like modern or pop culture
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
anything. It's like it's a it's this fairy tale that the grandpa is reading to the grandchild, and I think the soundtrack does a lot to kind of have that ambiance, that vibe in the movie.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
that was my contribution
That's a
to
great contribution.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good game.
In my film analysis class, we were talking about movies with good soundtracks, with bad soundtracks, with okay soundtracks. And
Hmm.
we like the question was like, well, what do you think about the Princess Bride soundtrack? And we just kind of left, like we let people think about it on their own time. Because the instrumentation is weird and 80s largely. Like there like a lot of moments that would be orchestrated is like clearly on like a MIDI or something, like it's all synthesized. But you don't, like you were saying, it kind of just blends into the movie that if you're not going into the movie thinking about how does this fit, then you wouldn't necessarily notice. Hi
This is my
Ella.
baby, by the way.
Oh my gosh.
She
She's a
turned
star.
she turned 1 month old yesterday. She looks like a
Oh my
watermelon
gosh.
today.
She does. She's so
Nice.
round and pink.
And
I
look at
love
how
her.
much hair she has.
My goodness.
Well,
Yeah.
she came out with all
She's
that
throwing it
hair.
off.
And while I was expecting, I told Jonathan, my husband, multiple times that I wanted her to have dark curly hair like his because that's so fun and I love his hair. And she came out with lovely blonde hair like mine. So, oh well.
It is, I mean, you never know. I was born also with very blonde, straight hair, and mine now is dark and curly, so you never know.
Yeah,
She's still got
You
time.
never know.
that's true. She does still have time. I was born with red hair, so
Oh,
that clearly didn't stick around, but
the world is
Yeah,
so
so you never
interesting.
know. Yeah.
oh, and my dog is here too. Toby, come here.
Hi,
Hi,
Toby.
Toby. Oh, he's so handsome.
Yep.
Is
He's
there
a
any way you can get him to show his paw with the weird bald patch?
maybe. Sorry, this is my laptop screen, so I can't
You're good.
just pick it up. Toby, come back. I don't know. I don't know if I have enough hands
That's
for this.
okay. Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, can't you
Toby.
just use your secret third and fourth hand?
Oh
Or
yeah,
have
the
Ella
ones.
help. She's just laying there.
That's true.
Yeah, she's
She's
not doing anything.
not doing anything at all. Toby.
Babies are so new. She's all curled up
Yep,
still.
she does the little scrunch.
It's so cute.
It's funny. I have hung out a lot with babies, but not little babies because you pretty much don't get to hang out around a small baby unless it's yours because of germs and
Hmm.
postpartum stuff. And so I used to work at a daycare with babies. So I took care of babies all day, every day. But it's not the same when they're tiny and brand new. And also your baby, it's different. But
Hmm.
anyway, I can highly recommend watching movies as a good way to get through labor. I watched like 3 movies while I was in labor. So that's a
I think you're really onto
good
something.
film recommendation. Not The Princess Bride, though. I might have if it had occurred to me. it was more of
What
just like a put something on so that I'm distracted. I wasn't like really, you know, thinking
what
Right.
too
movies
You
did you
weren't like,
much.
watch?
what's gonna be the perfect labor movie?
Nope, it was like Big Hero 6, that sounds good. I
Okay,
watched
yeah.
Big Hero 6 and Encanto and Tangled. Yep, those were the three movies that I watched. It's
Okay,
like
yeah, pretty good
Disney
choice.
Plus. I just was the music was good
Right.
too. Encanto. I was definitely that was stuck in my head still while I was giving
Mhm.
birth. So
See, this is something too. I have never considered the idea of using movies to get through labor, but now that it's in my noggin, I'm gonna start planning my own labor playlist of
Yeah,
movies.
yeah.
yeah.
Like you had to be the first one, the pioneer, so that we can
Eh,
kind of perfect
Well,
the
I
art
don't
and
know
pick
that
our
I'm
perfect labor
really the
movie.
first one. I
no,
mean,
you're
lots of
you're the
people
only one
have
that has ever
given
done
birth
this.
before, but
Mhm.
I did a lot of it at home, which wasn't really my plan, but that's fine. But that was a good time to be watching movies.
I think any time is a good time to be watching movies. I watch movies pretty much every single day, all through work. So it's good.
Yeah, which is fine.
Yeah,
It's allowed.
I don't do anything. I get paid to
Where do
sit
you
at a
That's
work?
not
desk.
true. You send out the morning announcement thing.
That is true. I do that. I work at a senator's office as a staff assistant.
Oh, nice.
It's something. It sure
Sounds
is.
exciting.
It does let me sit at my desk all day and watch movies. And my front desk coworker and I, we've been getting really into crosswords lately. And I mean like really scary into crosswords. Like we
Nice.
haven't been doing our normal tasks because we've been addicted to crosswords.
I love crosswords.
They're so good. They're so
That's
fun.
so fun.
It has maybe been negatively affecting our relationships with each other because we start we get along really, really well 90% of the time. But when we're doing crosswords, we start getting snippy with each other and like, well, I told you to check that one. Oh, excuse me for thinking that,
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah,
You
giving me a
know,
preparation for marriage.
there you go. That's good.
probably, probably. Something that I did sometimes with my class too is the Wordle, which was a great time.
No,
And I
fun.
think they actually learned a ton from that. Like there's something, like obviously long division, reading poetry, but like them coming up with a word and me saying, "Oh, well, it actually doesn't have any of those letters. We just learned that." Like that definitely I feel like is a valuable learning experience. Or they're like,
Hmm.
"Oh, what about this one?" And usually I would, type it in first and be like, "Oh, it's not 5 letters. That word actually has 9 letters in it, so it's not going to be that word." Or I'll type it in and be like, actually we already found out that this word starts with a different letter. And I say we could still do this one. It would give us information. But then then everyone else is like, no, don't throw away the gas. Don't do that. Anyway, there's again, that's the fun thing about being a teacher is that you get to, you know, do stuff like that sometimes.
That is really fun.
But
I haven't been doing Wordle. I was never very good at it when it was like started to be a bigger thing.
Hmm.
Um, and so I just kind of gave up on it. But maybe I should give it another shot.
I never did it when it
I
was a
like
thing.
connection.
I did it after it was cool, not before. I just like later I
Nice.
was like, huh. Yeah, the connections are fun too. I feel
Hmm.
like sometimes I just miss the reference or whatever. That it's when
Hmm.
I like just it goes over my head. Like if it's
That's because
names
your fourth grade
of
teacher didn't.
things. I know. Yeah.
Mhm.
My
Yeah.
fourth grade my fourth grade teacher did not indoctrinate me with the right cultural knowledge to be able to solve the connections. No, my
Julie, I've
fourth
actually
grade
got a really
teacher
good suggestion for your,
oh
if you
yeah.
want another one for your, to teach your students. Called Ravenous.
Ignore her. What were you saying?
Um, unfortunately, I am not going to teach again until like for the end of the year, and then I'm probably not going to teach again for a little while. So I might have to save that for later,
Cool.
when I
Yeah, no,
teach
just log
again.
it away. Keep it in the
Just
background.
make
Don't forget
make
it
a
though.
note of it.
Yeah, good for
Yeah.
fourth graders to see
Yeah.
a movie of that nature.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll teach them a lot of valuable lessons such as gratuitous violence.
You know what though?
Cannibalism.
You know what movie every school child had seen way more times than it merits is The Polar Express.
Oh
I've
my
watched The
gosh,
Polar
tell me
Express
about it.
so many times as a student and as a teacher. It's there's a Polar Express day every year in school, and you watch the Polar Express. And I don't know, maybe people who are not me like the Polar Express more, but I don't have a lot of good things to say about it. The
I think
Josh
you're in a very
Groban
safe
song
space
at
for
the
this
end,
opinion.
like that's a good one. But
The highlight is the end, though, which is never a good sign.
and it's mostly just because of Josh Groban. But
I
yeah,
recently
just
learned he's in Crazy Stupid Love. Did you guys know that?
really,
That he's in there. He's like an actor in
Maybe.
the movie.
I did not know
I
that
feel like
he had
I
ever
maybe did. Hang on.
acted.
I didn't either. He's her name's not Anna Kendrick. What's her name? With the eyes and
Oh,
the red hair.
Emma Stone.
That's her name. He's her boyfriend before she breaks up with him
Yeah,
to
I
go be
did
with
know
Ryan
that.
Gosling.
I
Huh.
haven't watched it recently enough to like remember that was Josh Groban, but I do remember watching it and being like, "Is that Josh Groban?"
That Dean Cain?
Yeah.
Oh
Uh,
dear.
really
Anyway,
funny.
yeah, The Polar Express. Like I feel like if
Mm-mm.
someone could just make a better movie that was about a Christmas train and make that iconic instead, teachers everywhere would be grateful because
hmm
the classic everyone wear their pajamas and it's like train themed, which is fun, and we'll bring around the hot chocolate like treat trolley to the different classrooms,
Mhm.
and you're all gonna suffer through watching the Polar Express.
Yes, literally everything
hmm
about those days is so fun, except for the whole point of it, in that you
Yeah,
But
have to
except the actual
watch The
movie.
Polar
yeah, I
Express.
know. And
Yeah.
maybe
Famously, the
that's
worst
part of it
Christmas
though.
movie.
Maybe that's part of it because if it was any better, then you'd like be distracted by watching the movie instead of like drinking your hot chocolate and wearing your pajamas and sitting on the floor and making a fort if you have a cool teacher.
Wow.
Mm,
Never got to do that.
true.
That's awesome.
Well, or
Yeah.
maybe a new teacher that is not yet jaded enough to not let you make forts during the movie.
I think that the movie that every kid should watch at school is Home Alone 2, because I think that's the best
For
Christmas
the
movie.
gratuitous violence.
Exactly.
Well, that's the
Yeah.
other thing about the Polar Express is no one can really object to it, even though it has all those weird scenes with the creepy puppets
It's
and the
creepy.
homeless man on the top of the train,
Yeah.
Yeah, it is creepy.
I don't like that movie at all.
and just the
I feel like I would like it
animation.
better. Like, I like that Tom Hanks voices more than one character. I would like the movie if every single character was voiced by the same one actor, and if it wasn't Tom Hanks and it was super obscure and you like found it, you're like can't sleep and you're like scrolling through YouTube at 3 a.m. and you find a movie that all the characters are voiced by one actor, you'd
Uh-huh.
be like, this rocks. Then it would be a
And
good
maybe that
movie. But
actor
just the
could
fact that
sing.
it's like yeah, and it's just the fact that it's like mainstream with like an actor who's usually when he's in kids movies, he's in like Toy Story. Like he's in actually good movies. To
Hmm.
expect it to be good, I feel like it just falls short in a weird way, but then it's still really popular. And it would be much better if it was a different movie and it was obscure.
Yeah. And
The
not
other
motion
thing
capture
about
animated.
that's
hmm
the book is there's just not like 2 hours worth of content. It's like a picture book.
Yeah,
So that's really
yeah.
the problem there. The book is great. Chris Van Allsburg, awesome children's author. He's written tons of really great weird books. It's funny
Yeah.
that it's kind of like I don't know, like that one singer who's like a one-hit wonder, and then you find out they've written lots of other music too, and it's weird. That's how that
Mhm.
author is. He's written a lot of other books, like The Sweetest Fig. Ooh. Anyway, that's a good one.
Yeah,
But
see,
it's
that's funny because I'm a huge proponent for making things weirder and like taking a risk on a weird idea and doing something because it's an unusual concept. It's
uh-huh.
just I feel like
But I
this
feel like the
movie
problem
has
was that
every correct element.
it's like they did it weird by accident instead of on
Right.
purpose.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like
That's
like the
exactly
original
it.
book is kind of a weird vibe, and the other books written by that author are like great books, but also have kind of a weird vibe. And so
Mhm.
they were like, let's take this book that has a slightly weird vibe and make it into like a timeless, classic, beautiful, genuine children's movie, but
hmm
still try and kind of be true to that weird vibe, and they just
Hmm.
mess it up,
I
I think.
totally agree. I'm a big Polar Express hater. I don't like that movie. And yeah, I
And
think
I
it's time
think,
we forget it. What?
yeah, I think this is not the first time that we've mentioned on the podcast how much we don't like that movie.
Yeah, it
So you're
definitely
in
is
good
not.
company.
The thing is, there's no shortage of like good Christmas movies or even like mid-Christmas movies that you just happen to really like. Like I
Hmm.
watched
Right.
what's it called? I don't remember, but it's got Hugh Laurie in it. It's an animated Santa movie. Maybe Fred Claus? Arthur Claus? I don't remember.
I'm Googling
Arthur
Hugh
Christmas.
Laurie Santa movie.
Arthur
Arthur
Christmas.
Chris.
That's it. That's it. Yeah. I thought it was charming. It is a little weird, but in the
Hmm.
best possible way. Like it's not the staple Christmas movie that everybody talks about, but like it's really cute. And if you watch it from a young enough age, it could totally be like your Christmas movie?
Hmm.
Right.
There's like a lot of other options. So why do we keep insisting on
The
that
Polar
one, on the
Express.
Polar
No, I really
Express?
do think
Yeah.
it's just because it lends itself to a pajama day
Yeah.
and like the treat situation, the hot chocolate.
Hmm.
Like as a
Which,
teacher that has worked at two
yeah.
different schools, both of which had a Polar Express day, the point of it is the pajamas and the hot chocolate.
And
Hmm.
admittedly, the hot chocolate scene, it's really
It's kind
fun.
of
I
cool.
do like
That
that.
is
I do
fun.
like it.
We
Yeah.
do like hot chocolate. Although I don't
Yeah.
love the
Yeah.
song that he just kind of awkwardly chants it instead of singing. As a musician, I
Yeah.
just think that maybe they could have chosen someone who would sing the song instead of
Right.
whatever happened. But that was a choice.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a
And
choice.
I've
I
gotten
like
to
the
drink
name of,
hot chocolate
yeah.
because
You
of
can
that
at least get to
scene
have a good
multiple times.
time. I like the name of Arthur Christmas because it's Hugh Laurie. He's British, so like
No, I'm good.
it sounds like it sounds like it
Nice.
rhymes with Father Christmas. So that's nice.
Mm, that is nice. When I was a kid, we watched
Um,
Arthur's Perfect Christmas a lot. I don't know if you
uh,
guys watched that, an Arthur movie. My parents liked Arthur.
Oh, I
Do you
love
know the
Arthur.
aardvark? Yeah,
yeah,
I love
Yeah.
I
Arthur
love
too.
Arthur.
That's a good one.
That's a good show.
It's a good show. We had some of the books too. We also had the Franklin books. Do you remember Franklin,
Yeah,
the
the
tortoise?
turtle. Tortoise.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. That's a good one. We had the one about Franklin's mom and how he like made her a macaroni necklace or something. I don't
Wait,
remember.
oh my gosh, that just unlocked a memory. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
Franklin. Yeah.
Oh,
I just remember that after reading that, we all made my mom macaroni necklaces like for Mother's Day multiple years in a
Mhm.
row. That's just what we would do. And I wonder if she ever regretted that and was like, maybe we could find a book where the kids all do their chores extra good on Mother's Day or something, and we read that one
Right.
instead.
I don't
Seems a
know. I
bit
didn't grow
strange.
up watching a lot of like Christmas. Like we didn't do like themed, we're watching a Christmas movie because it's Christmas. Kind of in the
Hmm.
same vein of like we don't have like seasonal decorations. It's just like not how my family operates. But if I was going to recommend any Christmas movie on this April 12th, I would recommend Holly's Holiday, which Emily and Lillian and I watched. We like found it on YouTube and watched it, and it's awesome. It has I don't know if you've ever seen Chuck, but the guy who plays Captain Awesome from Chuck is in this movie. So if you ever watch a movie that proclaims to be the number one Christmas movie where a woman falls in love with a mannequin come to life, but it's not Captain Awesome, that's not the right movie. That's a different movie, but that's really similar, but it's not the same. Yeah, anyway, that's my
That sounds like a
recommendation.
good one. I'm a
Yeah.
diehard Muppets Christmas Carol.
Mm,
That's one
I
that
love
we would
that movie.
watch every year. And it's funny because I've never watched anything else really Muppet related. I've heard the Treasure Island one is good too, but like
It is. Tim Curry's in that one.
I've never actually watched The Muppet Show or really anything with Muppets in it, like Sesame Street. I guess I don't know if those are Muppets, but The Muppet Christmas Carol. But we have like watched that every single year of my life growing up, and
Which just
it's
goes
a
to show how
classic.
good Muppets are. That like
yeah.
you're not even attached to the Muppets name, and still that's
Yeah,
like the Christmas Carol movie of all time.
hmm
Yeah. Yeah. So
it
true.
It's
is.
really good.
As long as you have like Muppets Christmas Carol and Labyrinth, you're good.
Yes. I love, yes.
All other
That's
Muppet
another.
content is like a bonus, but those are essential.
But it's funny because like there's something about the Muppets that definitely adds something, whether or not you're like a Muppets person. But they also have a knack for choosing just the right like one person to be in it. Like if there's gonna be someone, it's gonna be David
Hmm.
Bowie or Michael, what's his name, Scott?
Michael
The
Caine.
Kane, yeah, the Scrooge guy, or Tim Curry, right? That you
Curry.
just it's it's the pairing of just the right person to be the only person in a cast
So
of
true.
Muppets.
Of Muppets, yeah.
And I've heard someone describe it like this, like with Michael Caine, with the Christmas Carol version and with the Treasure Island movies, like both work well in different ways because Michael Caine treats his Muppet co-stars as fellow actors,
Hmm.
and Tim Curry considers himself a
A
Muppet,
Muppet.
I've seen that too.
and
There's probably some truth to that.
that's pretty
Yeah,
good.
Yeah.
I
And
believe it.
in Labyrinth, I feel like David Bowie is just entirely unaffected by the fact that everyone around him are puppets because that just is not, he doesn't need to even worry about that.
Yeah, that's just how the
He's the
world
Goblin
works.
King.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're
He's got bigger things on his
goblins.
mind. I feel like every time we do an episode, I have a list of like 5 movies that I need to rewatch because every time we just talk about it, I'm
We'll
like,
be
oh
like,
my
oh,
gosh, I
this
love
is
that
kind
movie
of
so
like this other
much.
movie, and yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So okay, I've got to rewatch The Princess Bride, which I watch monthly anyway, but yeah,
Gotta keep it up
Muppet
in
Christmas
case you
Carol,
forget
Muppet
any
Treasure
of those
Island.
obscure lines.
Exactly. Yeah, you
Like
never
the
know.
line that really got me yesterday was, so she's like riding on her horse and there's the beautiful lens flare of all lens flares, and then she
Hmm.
meets Vicini et al. For the first time, and he says, "We are but poor lost circus performers." And you see them standing from short to tall, and the landscape that they're on a hill, so also the skyline is from short to tall perfectly behind them. It's so ridiculous. It just really got me.
And Eagle's
We're
like
but
barely standing
poor
up
lost
straight.
circus performers. It's like, is
Oh
there a
dear.
village nearby?
It's amazing the lines that catch you off guard with something that you've seen a million times. Like I was just rewatching Megamind. Full disclosure, I've been watching it every night this week, to help me go to sleep.
Hmm.
And the one that got me, there were two actually. The one where they're talking to Hal and he's like, I'm your space dad. And then he's like,
Hmm.
and you are what? I'm your space stepmom. And he says it
Stepmom.
just like that, stepmom. And then this one's not even a line. It's just where he's taking over City Hall. Minion's got the boombox playing, and he's trying to get it to cut out, but it keeps switching to some rock star song. And it just keeps going for long enough. And there's just a shot of like Megamind slowly turning. I lost it. I laughed so hard. I've seen this movie 1,000 times, and that one still got me in stitches. Anyway, movies are great. I love them.
So funny. Movies with David Cross are great.
That's famously true. That's
Yeah.
that guy's a voice actor.
Yeah. I'm your space stepmom.
Mom, I've had some work done. I love I love you, David Cross. We don't say it enough.
Yeah.
Personally and as a society.
Well, I feel like
Well, I
we
don't
pretty much wrapped up. We've run out of anything to say. We can do final thoughts about Princess Bride if you remember, if you had any, or we can just call it here.
I think I have all of the things
Yeah,
that I had wanted to say.
I think I'm good.
Yeah,
Mhm.
me
And we
too.
got to see Ella.
Yep.
So
Yes.
and your dog, whose name is Toby.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah, classic dog
Like
name, but
from
it's a good one.
Labyrinth.
That's
Yeah.
true. It's not the
Except in
dog though.
Labyrinth,
That's her
the
her
baby
brother, right?
is
Her
The
baby.
Toby,
baby
Yeah.
is Toby. Yeah.
and the dog
I
is
don't remember
not
their dog.
Ella, but I don't remember his name.
Merlin.
Oh, it might be Merlin.
Is it Merlin?
I think it's
That's
I think
perfect.
it's mine.
I just checked
Yeah.
out a book from the library that's called Entangled Life that's about mushrooms and it's other fungi, and it's by someone named Merlin Sheldrake. Is that not
Of
just what
course
the
it
name
is.
of someone who writes a book
Yeah,
about mushrooms? I'm really excited
that's
for it,
awesome.
actually.
That's really
Yeah,
good.
keep us updated on, I guess, when you decided to teach all about swearing and also how the mushroom book goes.
Yes,
Mhm.
I will.
Thanks for joining. And thanks to the 4 people who will have made it all the way to the end of this video. It's pretty
Future
rare.
me.
The 4 people
Yep.
being just Whitney 3 times, and then maybe one other person.